What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Kevin Feige leaving the MCU? This is a new rumor making its way around the internet, and as much as I don't want it to be true, I actually think that it might be. And the more that I thought about it, the more I thought, you know what? This could make some sense, and maybe it won't be the worst thing in the world. Now, if you're a super big nerd like me, then you completely understand who Kevin Feige is and how important he is to pulling together all of the moving parts of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and making it what it is today. And I guess to the uninitiated out there, or the more normie among us, the best example or the illustration of how important Kevin Feige is to the MCU is to look over at the Sony Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man No Way Home was co-produced by Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios, and Venom, Morbius, and all of the rest over there are not. So now you can see why Marvel fans are freaking out at even the mention of this rumor, and why this would be such a devastating blow to Marvel and to Marvel Studios. However, I kind of want to take you through a few reasons in this video as to why I think it actually could happen, and we'll end off speculating on what Feige would do next, because I personally think that he's not done cementing his legacy in Hollywood. And now, the first reason, and probably the most important reason as to why this could actually happen, and that would be money. I don't know what Kevin Feige is being paid right now, but I know it's not enough. His movies have grossed 25+ billion total, and even in phase 4, with a slight slip in the quality of all of the MCU stuff, there's a ton of shows and movies still doing very well out there online via critics, fans. He's kind of still killing it. And one way to secure even more of the bag, as the kids call it, would be to consider leaving all of that behind. I mean, this could just be as simple as a negotiating tactic. Like, Feige maybe wants a little bit more money and a little bit more control, and in order to get that, he has to have some leverage out there. And you create that leverage by considering a move. And if he's really willing to leave, and just so we're all on the same page, the current rumor is that he will leave after Avengers Secret Wars, which seems kind of like a perfect mic drop of a movie to end one's career on. But if he's willing to do that, if he's willing to walk away and either venture into another IP, getting another big gig, or even moving up at Disney itself as a corporation, then the powers that be will want to hold on to him. They will want to give him more of what he wants, which is probably more money and a lot more control over what Marvel does. And I think it's important to bring up the fact that Kevin Feige had considered leaving Marvel Studios before. This actually happened in the past, where Feige, unhappy with having to report to Ike Perlmutter and having to do things that he wasn't crazy about, threatened to leave and actually took meetings with Warner Brothers for the role of running the DC films over there. And it was at that time that Disney considered Feige to be so valuable that they changed the corporate structure so that he no longer had to report to Ike Perlmutter and instead directly reported to Alan Horn and Bob Iger. They changed the structure of corporate to give Feige more control, and I assume gave him even more money, and this was in order to hold on to him, which proved to be a very fruitful decision. And again, I just don't think there's a proper way to compensate this guy. The value he's bringing into Disney to Marvel is ridiculous. Like, Marvel has now ascended into this lifestyle brand that is eclipsing what even Star Wars is capable of doing, and it's doing it in a much better way. Like, it is honestly crazy to witness, and I'm damn sure that Disney will do whatever they can to try to hold on to him. And so it's possible that Feige is getting his affairs in order, planning a way to sail off into the sunset after Avengers Secret Wars, and maybe he won't, but in order to properly have that leverage to get what he wants, he has to actually be willing to walk away. But let's talk about reason number 2 as to why Kevin Feige might walk away from the Marvel Cinematic Universe after Avengers Secret Wars, and that would be to go out on top. All great creatives or professional athletes want to win one more championship or have one more crazy success before they walk away. Going out on top is the ideal way to end a run, whether it be for a certain franchise, for a certain team, for a certain studio, or in a certain career. That's something all people really look forward to, and it seems as though Feige is putting a lot of energy and focus into making Avengers Secret Wars even bigger and crazier than what we experienced in Infinity War and Endgame. This would include bringing in other actors from prominent Marvel franchises of the past, like Hugh Jackman Wolverine, maybe a Wesley Snipes Blade, Edward Norton Hulk. Any and every person that played a Marvel character in the past is on the table for a cameo or a role in Avengers Secret Wars. And so in some ways, Secret Wars will be this sort of ultimate Marvel movie, a kind of film that would be very difficult to eclipse in hype and excitement after it comes out. And so even though it would devastate us and it would be very, very sad, it kind of makes sense, right? You could see a scenario in which his career trajectory would put him on a path to walk away after such a monumental accomplishment, sail off into the sunset, and yeah, Marvel would probably never be the same. It would still function. I think it would still be really good, especially if Feige leaves behind a massive roadmap for the people that will take over, which I think he's doing. If you think about the 10-year plan and some of the crazy things that are being pulled together, I believe that would be secured, but ultimately, for Feige, it's probably best to walk away then. I mean, if you look at what's going on right now with the discourse of Phase 4, there are people saying it should have ended after Endgame, that it will never be the same. And just for legacy's sake, it's probably best if Kevin Feige goes out with a bang. By the way, interestingly enough, Mark Ruffalo, who of course plays the Incredible Hulk, did say in an interview when asked about Secret Wars that they would go out with a bang. What was he saying there? What was he referring to? I don't know, but it kind of lines up with the thought process of Kevin Feige going out on his own terms and going out on top.
If I know Kevin and I know Marvel, it's going to be pretty amazing. It'll be a big bang. We'll go out with a big bang.
And the number 3 reason that Kevin Feige might walk away from the Marvel Cinematic Universe has to do with solidifying his legacy. We've talked a lot in this video about all of the crazy accomplishments of Kevin Feige and how important he is to the fabric of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But at the end of the day, when this is all said and done, it may be easy for folks to just remember him as the Marvel guy. And you even hear some of this discourse nowadays where people are like, yeah, he can do that over at Marvel, but he couldn't do that at Star Wars. He can't do that for DC, etc., etc. And there are people out there that even doubt that Feige is that influential or that important to the fabric of the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, one way to establish his legacy and have it grow beyond even what he does at Marvel Studios would be to leave and take on another big IP or franchise and prove for a second time that it is his personal vision and his ability as a producer that was the X factor in the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that would solidify him as like definitely the greatest producer of all time. And they would tell all these different stories about why and how he was able to do these incredible things. And as it stands right now, there are 2 major franchises that are desperately in need of the kind of vision that he could bring. Number 1 would be Star Wars, who is struggling after the sequel trilogy and under the leadership of Kathleen Kennedy. There have been many different brand issues with Star Wars, but I think that's backed up by wishy-washy content that doesn't have a unified theme, vision, or feeling. And Kevin Feige is already set to produce a Star Wars movie. Hopefully that still happens. And his first love is actually Star Wars. He talks a lot about this. He loves Marvel, but he loves Star Wars even more. And it would be absolutely incredible for Kevin Feige to walk away in 2025, come over to Lucasfilm, take over from Kathleen Kennedy, and take Star Wars to the next level. But in perhaps what would be an even better fit for Kevin Feige, there is, of course, DC Comics and the DC Cinematic Universe. Of course, Warner Brothers right now currently struggling massively. Identity crisis over there, wishy-washy, a lot of new leadership coming in the past couple of years, not to mention all of the drama with Ezra Miller, the Flash movie, and just all of the inconsistencies that happened when Zack Snyder was there and since Zack Snyder walked away. As it stands, David Zaslav is restructuring and building out a 10-year plan for the DC Comics universe, seemingly copying the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He is looking for his Kevin Feige that will come over and pull all of this stuff together, but wouldn't it be wild if instead of looking for his Kevin Feige, he got the actual Kevin Feige to leave Marvel after 2025 and come over and rehabilitate DC characters and the DC Films universe. And again, there's actual precedence here because Kevin Feige was going to do just that when he was struggling having to report to Ike Perlmutter. He took meetings with them and he loves Superman, he loves DC Comics, and he would absolutely be the man for the job. Now, I know some of you Marvel fans literally still have your mouth open from the very intro of this video and you just can't accept it and you won't accept it and you hope it doesn't happen. And I get it because I don't really want it to happen either. However, hopefully the last thing we talked about him going to these other franchises and doing his thing could give you a little bit of hope that it would be cool to see something maybe go down like this. And I will also tell you that the lieutenants that Kevin Feige has, Victoria Alonso and Nate Moore and others have been learning under him for a long time. They are very good at what they do, and Feige could possibly leave a 10-year roadmap, or I guess a 7-year roadmap after Secret Wars, and still feel the footprint or the fingerprints of Feige all over the Marvel Cinematic Universe as it continued. So it might not actually be the worst thing. Marvel's kind of running, it's doing its thing at this point. Maybe after Secret Wars, it would be okay if he walked away and did something else. But I know this was probably a roller coaster ride of emotion for many of you out there. Please let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below here. Like this video if you had a good time watching it, and subscribe to this channel to see a ton more nerdy content coming out about all these awesome nerdy things. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.